by Wiley Implement and Spray Center.
In the winter season, even though it doesn't feel like it, farmers typically grow wheat or rye to serve as a cover crop for cotton. Out at the AgriLife Extension Office, a semi-new crop species is being researched in hopes of allowing more farmers to expand their winter crop.
I grew some Camelina the first time probably 20 years ago, and at that time maybe the varieties were not good. We didn't really have much success, but there's been a lot of improvements.
Agronomists think Camelina can be a good investment for farmers because of the multiple uses it can provide.
We see that Camelina could be what you might call a dual purpose crop, in that it's a cash crop first, but the stubble left over after harvest could then become a cover crop.
Camelina is known as an oilseed crop, meaning the seeds can be crushed to extract the oil, and that oil could have a really interesting use.
The fatty acids that are in Camelina appear to be favorable for aviation fuel, for jet fuel, and so some of the interest in Camelina currently in the U.S. is the possibility that Camelina could be a biofuel source for the jet fuel industry. And so I think that's part of what is driving some of the process and this initial look, this renewed initial look at Camelina here in the Texas High Plains.
But the use for the plant doesn't end there. The crop residue left after harvest could be used to protect young cotton plants.
We think that after harvest with the combine, with the regular grain combine, that stubble could be in the range of maybe, probably 10 to 16 inches tall, that this might take the place of the wheat or the rye that farmers are planting, and could take the place of that and be a dead cover crop for their seedling cotton protection.
Before more growers can plant Camelina, agronomists still have many questions to consider when researching this exploratory crop.
Is it adapted to the region? Is it adapted to irrigated agriculture here in the Lubbock region, or would it be suitable for dryland crops? So in some ways, that's kind of my first interest, but along with that is how you manage this crop. When would you plant it? How would you fertilize it? What do you need to do in order to harvest it properly, and so forth?
The Camelina seeds are extremely small, which would also provide a challenge to growers.
The challenge here is the very shallow planting depth means that moisture is going to have to be right there at the surface to get germination, and sometimes we're pretty dry in the wintertime.
So there is a lot to research to ensure Camelina can thrive in the South Plains. But scientists like Calvin Trossel are working hard to find as many answers as possible.
In the long run, there's no assurance that Camelina will work, but we're going to look at something different, and it's part of a research educational program to come alongside the farmers to help them and maybe do some of the things that farmers wouldn't be able to do in the testing process.
Now, there is a larger growing test in Sudan between Littlefield and Muleshoe, where 2,500 acres are being used to grow Camelina. The contracted farmers are trying both dryland and irrigated farming to see what works best. We plan to follow up with these plants in the spring to see if the dry spell from the end of November through January has had any impact.